You're watching Livia Drusilla, one of the most cunning women of the dying republic, marrying her own half-brother Marcus Drusus. They call him the wolf for his predatory politics. His arm encircles her waist possessively, grip tight enough to bruise, smile sharp as a gladius. The wedding wreath feels like iron shackles. He promised protection for her surviving son, promised to acknowledge the boy as heir. But you see calculation in his eyes, the same cold ambition that drove him to orchestrate General Marcellus's murder. The priests chant in Latin, invoking Jupiter and Juno to bless this union. Bitter irony, those divine siblings whose sacred marriage poets celebrate, while assembled nobles pretend not to see horror in her eyes. This isn't her first time being traded like precious spice. At 16, her father handed her to General Scipio, old enough to remember Hannibal's elephants. Now at 38, she's currency again. Watch the sacred wine taste like vinegar as they perform conferratio, Rome's most solemn marriage rite. The court celebrates while she calculates. 22 years in Roman politics taught her survival requires more than beauty or bloodline. It demands fox-like cunning and spider-like patience. As Drusus toasts their union, you glimpse her eldest son Tiberius in the crowd. Unlike his murdered younger brother, this boy refused to come to Rome, sensing the trap. His absence in Germania may save his life while hers hangs by threads. The ceremony concludes with poison-tasting kisses and hollow oaths. Tonight, as Rome celebrates, she'll sleep beside a man who sees her as a stepping stone, her child as an obstacle. But he doesn't know who he's married, a woman with patrician blood, who's survived deadlier courts than his, already weaving webs that will either elevate her to goddesshood or destroy them all. Livia's story begins with the Republic's death throes. Born around 58 BCE in the Claudius Palatine villa, she entered a world where bloodline meant privilege and prison. Her father, Marcus Livius Drusus Claudianus, was among the last true republicans, believing Rome's greatness lay in ancient traditions. In marble corridors, young Livia learned her beauty belonged not to herself but to family, state, and the power balance keeping Rome's elite positioned. The Rome of her childhood was drunk on conquests but poisoned by civil war, the Forum echoed, with demagogue speeches while Campus Martius ran red with blood. Tribute ships crowded the Tiber, but beneath marble facades pulsed constant tension of a system devouring itself. At 16, her father made the defining decision, in 40 BCE, with the second triumvirate carving up the Republic, General Publius. Scipio needed allies against Mark Antony, while Drusus needed protection from proscription lists. The solution, marriage. Scipio was 63, a veteran whose villa displayed trophies from dozen campaigns, Numidian shields, Gallic torques, golden eagles of defeated legions. To young Livia, he seemed like legend incarnate, magnificent and terrifying. The wedding displayed full Roman pageantry. Livia stood in imported silk, dark hair crowned with orange blossoms. Scipio placed the iron ring with scarred hands, speaking ancient words, Ubi de Gaius, ego Gaia, where you are master, I am mistress. This wasn't affection, but survival, real politic written in flesh. Her new life was dangerous. Scipio's household was precarious as triumvirs consolidated power. Yesterday's heroes became today's enemies with frightening speed. Livia learned crucial lessons. Survival required reading men's ambitions, anticipating moves, knowing when to advance or retreat. Within 2 years, she bore Gaius Claudius 40 BCE, then Marcus 38 BCE. But Scipio had older sons viewing her children as inheritance threats. As succession questions dominated household politics, Livia found herself at intrigue's center, whispers starting about the ambitious new wife. She learned the game masterfully, cultivating slave networks, patronizing intellectuals, participating in religious observances. Most importantly, she studied her husband's political relationships, like a general planning campaigns, positioning herself as indispensable. Crisis came in 36 BCE when triumvir tensions erupted. Scipio faced choosing between Mark Antony and young Octavian. His household split. Eldest son Publius favored Antony, but Livia saw something different in Octavian, cold intelligence reminiscent of Caesar himself. Her political instincts proved prescient. The girl traded like cargo was becoming a political advisor. When embassies arrived, they sought her audiences too. Her opinions carried weight in crucial decisions, but influence came at terrible cost. Publius began seeing her as rival, whispers growing poisonous about the sorceress enchanting the old general. The household now watched with barely concealed hostility. The end came with shocking suddenness, in 30 for BCE, as Octavian's forces closed on Antony. Publius struck. Using his heir position, he convinced veterans the general had grown senile. Judgment clouded by his young wife's influence, Scipio was arrested in his own villa on fabricated treason charges. Within days, the old general was dead, allegedly killed while escaping. Livia found herself widowed at 24, responsible for 2 sons in a household now controlled by her hostile stepson. Publius wasted no time asserting control. Her sons would be sent away for education in distant provinces, exile disguised as opportunity. But Livia hadn't survived 8 years by being passive. Using her built network, she planned escape while maintaining the grieving wife facade. The harrowing journey to safety took them north toward Gallic relatives, but news reached them. Marcus, Livius Drusus, her half-brother, had returned to Rome with Octavian's blessing. His message offered marriage, protection, and restoration, but Livia read deeper motives. Her half-brother had spent exile years nursing grievances, planning return. By marrying her, he'd gain inheritance rights and political connections. Her sons would become tools or obstacles to eliminate. Accepting Drusus's proposal was her most calculated decision. She was no longer the frightened girl, but a woman understanding exactly what she risked. Refusing meant permanent exile. Accepting meant gambling everything on outmaneuvering a proven killer. She sent younger son Marcus to Spanish protection. If disaster struck, one child might survive. It was desperate maternal wisdom born of bitter experience. The Palatine Hill wedding demonstrated Claudian restoration. Drusus spared no expense. Imported delicacies, new frescoes depicting family history. Roman law permitted half-sibling marriages, though unusual. They claimed divine precedent, Jupiter and Juno's sacred union. The ceremony was political theater masterpiece. Priests invoked traditional deities and divine Julius Caesar, claiming connection to legitimizing imperial authority. Livia stood beside her half-brother, aware of watching eyes. She was becoming dynastic policy architect, not mere merchandise. But the honeymoon lasted only hours. That very night, Drusus revealed his true intentions: complete control over Claudian inheritance. With her legally bound, he could eliminate rivals, including her son. The betrayal was swift and merciless. 7-year-old Gaius was found dead in the garden pool 3 days later. Ruled accidental drowning. But Livia knew better. Her intelligent boy had been murdered for showing dangerous potential. Even as her son's pyre burned, Livia planned survival. She had one advantage: Drusus needed her alive. Her immediate death would raise unanswerable questions. So began her most dangerous period, maintaining grieving wife facade while secretly planning revenge. Her breakthrough came through Octavian himself, the future emperor, consolidating control. Needed reliable administrators, while Drusus lacked subtle intelligence. Livia's quick mind and aristocratic psychology understanding attracted attention. Their relationship transcended usual Roman gender boundaries. Both young enough to adapt, both scarred by violence, they discovered meeting of minds. Octavian saw in her strategic thinking about power rather than mere seeking. Her experiences taught that true authority came from being indispensable, not commanding obedience. For Livia, this offered unprecedented agency, consultation not as wife or daughter, but as advisor in her own right. Her opinions mattered for their quality, not whose bed she shared. Their alliance evolved into genuine attraction. Unlike previous husbands who saw her as political asset, Octavian valued her mind equally. For a woman traded like spice since adolescence, this was intoxicating. Crisis came in 30 BCE when Drusus discovered the relationship's extent. The confrontation was explosive. Accusations of betraying marriage vows, dishonoring the Claudian name. But underneath moral outrage lay practical concern. His wife was becoming more powerful than he. Drusus responded violently, attempting poisoned assassination. But Livia's extensive network warned her in time. The failed attempt ended marital pretense. Accusations flew both ways until Octavian intervened decisively, granting Livia unprecedented divorce rights and announcing his intention to marry her. The announcement shocked Roman society. Octavian was married to Scribonia for political alliance. Divorcing her for Livia required reimagining marriage's meaning for ruling elite. Critics argued Livia was tainted by incestuous marriage, unfit for virtuous Romans. But Octavian used controversy as transformation tool, demonstrating imperial systems' different rules. Traditional morality would be subordinated to political necessity. The deliberately modest ceremony emphasized personal over political nature. But everyone understood significance. Rome's most powerful man was allying with a woman who'd survived 2 dangerous marriages and emerged stronger. At 30, Livia became the future emperor's wife. She brought not just noble connections, but invaluable experience in imperial politics. She'd watched kingdoms rise and fall, seen strong men destroy themselves. Now she could apply lessons without fearing betrayal. As Octavian became Augustus, Livia became unprecedented in Roman history, an empress wielding power in her own right. She attended Senate meetings, received ambassadors, participated in traditionally male-restricted ceremonies. Most significantly, she established imperial cult precedent, working with Augustus. She crafted public image presenting their marriage as sacred union blessed by gods, depicted as divine partners, maintaining cosmic order. The policy worked brilliantly. War-exhausted Romans embraced the stability the imperial couple represented. Divine marriage provided what the Republic lacked, loyalty focal point, transcending partisan politics, yet personal cost remained enormous. Livia achieved unprecedented power by sacrificing everything human. Her children were dead, victims of the system she now administered. Her youth was consumed by calculated relationships. She'd become a goddess, but goddesses aren't quite human. Following years saw Livia consolidate her unique position. She established religious cults in her honor, founded temples for worship alongside traditional deities, created priesthoods maintaining sacred rites. These weren't vanity, but calculated moves ensuring innovations would survive political upheavals. Augustus proved the partner she'd never dared hope for. Unlike previous husbands, he genuinely valued her counsel. Their marriage became true partnership, Livia handling domestic policy and court intrigue while Augustus managed military campaigns and foreign diplomacy. The end came in 14 CE when Augustus died at 76. Livia, now 58, and the Roman world's most experienced politician, faced her greatest challenge, managing transition while preserving position. Decades of relationship building with senators, commanders, and governors proved masterful preparation. Her death in 29 CE marked an era's end. The funeral procession was unlike anything Rome had seen. Empire-wide representatives honored the woman who'd helped transform war-torn republic into stable empire. She was deified as Diva Augusta, worship incorporated into imperial cult. More importantly, her precedents became imperial governance foundation. Future emperors would marry within families, citing divine precedent and political necessity. The empress as religious figure, mortal transcending human limitations to become goddess, became integral to imperial ideology. Livia's tragic irony was complete. Victimized by Roman arranged marriage systems, she'd transformed them into unprecedented female authority sources. Forced into incest by political necessity, she'd made necessity into tools for transcending gender limitations. Her greatest achievement wasn't wielded power but accomplished transformation. She'd forged chains into crowns, transformed victimization into victory, shown that even in the most patriarchal society, a woman of sufficient determination could transcend every imposed limitation. The cost had been everything dear: children, youth, humanity itself. But achievement was equally total. She'd created new female authority models, proved queens could be more than decorative consorts. The woman who'd begun trembling as she spoke to Gaius. Ego Gaia had ended as a deity whose worship would outlast the empire itself.